Ladies and gentlemen of the old world, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to this community showdown. It's going to be the Wood Elves led by Beaver facing off against the Tomb Kings, who shall be helmed by Exul here on the Geyser Bluffs. And yes, it does look like it's a bit of a Wood Elf rush build, not super hardcore, but it is going to be featuring 3 War Dancers in the front line, which of course can buzzsaw through skeletons, but are very vulnerable to a number of things on the Tomb Kings roster. For example, just even Nahakar Horsemen, Ushabti, any of the focus fire from their basic archers, chariots can really wreck these things, but if they can get into skeletons and just bump and grind, it's very cost effective. So going to be triple War Dancer backed up by Starfire Shafts, which is good. Fire damage is very relevant against a couple of the Tomb King's units, and on top of that, armor piercing as well for the, bigger, scarier things. We got 2 Eternal Guard, Giga Chad, Orion. Now, Orion is, let's think about his applications here. Got to be good at hunting the characters like the Cetras, the Arkans, the Koteps. Any sort of mobility pieces he's going to be decent against. Like if they try and tar pit him using the Horsemen, for example, like Nahakar Horsemen, Skeleton Horsemen, things like that, you can use the Hounds of Orion on top of the Blob or the Hawk's Talon to nail them down really quickly. Eternal Guard on the other side, and that's going to be it. Now for the glorious army of the Tomb Kings here for Nehekara, it is going to be double Necrotech. So we got 1 Necrotech here who's going to be using the Vambraces of the Sun. So yeah, this player knows these items are insanely cracked. He has them on each. So when these things get in combat, they just instantly lower your stats like nothing. It is obscene. And it's also going to be Ground Hero and Kotep using the Usirians and going to be charging into Brace Spears. But I think the 3 Chariots together are probably going to be able to overwhelm these Eternal Guard. But if they can return a little bit of damage back, we'll have to see. The thing is, those Vambraces, they blind you when you attack, like I said. So the Eternal Guards suddenly have like 2 melee attack. So they're not really able to connect. So really, really nice play here by VM Exul. Now, the rest of his army is going to be Skeleton Spearmen in the Sunset with Tomb Guard Halberds and a Wild Tomb Scorpion pick. So certainly some very off-meta picks for both players here. Chariot's going to be getting into War Dancers, and it's so funny. All the Battle for Middle-earth I've been playing, when your infantry get charged by cavalry or, monsters things, they tend to die instantly and just get trampled. So when I'm seeing it in this game, when I go back and forth between the 2 games, I'm like, oh god, it's going to trample and kill everything. It kind of works in a similar fashion, but Orion here doing some good damage against the Necrotech with his throwing spear, and then he wheels around maybe to try and get an angle on something else. Wardens of Sithril going to be coming out. Horn of the Wild Hunt activated. A little bit of a charge bonus buff. Not terribly relevant on these infantry, but Orion is actually doing very good. I mean, he's forcing back these chariots. Otherwise, they would be going balls deep and causing serious problems. However, a Glade Lord with a net could net one down, and the archers could, instant kill it, right? So there's pros and cons to both. Now, Tomb Scorpions, I haven't seen these things in ages. They got buffed a while back. It's like a patch or 2 ago. They apparently had their collision attacks improved, so curious to see what they can do when teamed up with the Necrotechs here, but very aggressive play from our Wood Elf player. Orion getting a little bit trapped up, so Lapse and Micro here from the dreaded Beaver, letting Orion get trapped by the Tomb Guard. We are going to be seeing a Hawk's Talon coming down, and these are Wardens of Sithril. These are elite armor-piercing anti-large fighters, and if the Tomb King's player doesn't notice this and decides to leave his Tomb Scorpion in combat to fight these things, he's going to have a relatively bad time, so probably going to want to withdraw from that. Hounds of Mel Gibson going down, and this is a big win for the War Dancers. They're going to get into combat against Skeleton Spears, and they're just going to buzzsaw these things. I mean, their anti-infantry bonus, their high stats, going to be a very easy fight. Archer's also trying to shoot into the Chariot Blob of the Necrotechs, which you don't see him as much in Domination. Sometimes you'll see 1, but 2 is definitely a lot. I think it's more of a land battle thing, probably. But Hawk's Talon going to be getting dropped, or the Hounds of Mel Gibson. It's going to be the Hawk's Talon, which is one of his abilities. And Orion is going to be Rage Boner chasing the Tomb Scorpion right here, which is a good call. He's basically a counter against it, anti-large, armor piercing, magic damage. He's got all the tools. And in the backfield, we do see the archers of the Tomb Kings, or excuse me, Wood Elves. They're all over the place here. But it is going to be the 2 Glade Guard shooting into Kotep. I think that the Tomb Kings player needs to be very careful, get Kotep behind the pillar, try and get out of line of sight here, but it looks like he's going to be committing even harder. And the Wood Elf player did actually call the Wild Hunters of Kurnus out from this Vanguard point, came around the pillar, and now actually has the Chariot characters a little bit trapped up, which can be very rough as Beaver pulls a big lead here. And we do see the triple Tomb Kings characters getting caught in a very precarious position. They do have the Cav blinded by the Vambraces, but yeah, this is not going to be good. Curse Blade's activated, giving Kotep a little bit of a damage buff, and right now there's going to be some sort of a vortex there. So the Hounds of Mel Gibson, no, that is not the Hounds. It is going to be the Darude Sandstorm. Okay, so Sandstorm is activated, does a little bit of damage from tickling. Jaf's Curse Blaze is activated here, but the old Stag Knights, well, they're not really, they're riding elk. It's close enough. Stag Knights are a different unit, but the Christmas Cav, the Reindeer Cavalry, going to be using their anti-large armor-piercing attacks to easily chew through these. If the Tomb King's player can salvage the Necrotechs, they might be okay, but if these things get trapped and killed, I assume it's just going to be a very quick game, and this one's going to be over incredibly quick. Wild Hunters of Karnas are so good. I mean, Wood Elves used to have a lot of problems against like heavily armored units like Chaos Knights and Empire Knights, Knights of the Blazing Sun, whatever, you name it, Reichsguard. But ever since they got the Wild Hunters of Karnas and Wood Elf players have discovered how to use Melkoths effectively against heavy cav, man, it's really changed the paradigm of the meta. Like, I remember the days of Warhammer 2 and even earlier Immortal Empires Warhammer 3 where Wood Elf players used to cower before the wrath of Chaos Knights and heavy cavalry and, you know, big armor in general. But now, I mean, of course, they could use their archers to shut them down, but what would happen is a critical mass of heavy cavalry would overwhelm their backfield, and their mass couldn't protect them. But now you have the Wild Hunters of Karnas. So one of the Necrotechs does escape. The other one's going to be dying here, and Kotep died as well. Looking at the objective situation, we do see objective number 3 is going to be going to Tomb Kings. Objective 2 is for Tomb Kings as well, and objective number 1 here is going to be owned by the Hardwood. So Tomb Kings are still kind of close-ish on value. I mean, they're trading okay elsewhere. They do have a lot of Tomb Guard Halberds, and honestly, Kotep's are really cheap. If I were the Tomb Kings player, I would probably honestly just try and resummon Kotep, get him back on the table here, and they are holding okay, but the War Dancers, of course, and the Wardens of Sithril, very elite units, going to be able to grind through these, although these are Tomb Guard, right? Or these, yeah, those are Tomb Guard Halberds. They have almost 50 melee defense, so they're very stalwart and very, very tough to uproot there. On the backside, Dryads are getting it done. Couple Archers going to be lurking here. It looks like the Spellsinger of Life, the caster for the Wood Elves here, is going to be getting routed. I suspect that it got caught in combat with the Halberds, or maybe the Tomb Scorpion was able to get it. Tomb Scorpion being harried by the Wild Hunters of Karnas. Definitely want to get that thing stacked on some top of some Halberds or something if possible. Hawk's Talons coming down from Orion right there. Going to be nailing the Skeleton Horseman, doing a little bit of damage, but you know, this is the thing. Tomb Kings are really, really tough to uproot, especially since they're using elite infantry and the Wood Elf player doesn't really have any, you know, super excellent anti-infantry on the field. I mean, aside from the War Dancers, which are kind of beat up from the early game, you know, the Wild Riders with shields aren't going to be very good against the Tomb Guard. He's trying to brute force his way through. You can see a lot of cavalry mixed in with the Race of the Frozen Heart, which I think I saw in here. Were those just regular Dryads? No, they're just regular Dryads. So yeah, it's going to take a hot minute. Now, looking at the columns here, Kotep is back in business, and now suddenly you have like a close game on your hands, right? Because Tomb Kings are going to be getting perpetually healed by the spells of the wizard, and on top of that, the Realm of Souls ability is going to be healing them. So very, very tricky stuff. Tomb Guard Halberds, how are they doing versus Wardens of Sithril? Warden sitting at 700 value here. Elven Archers are able to shoot downtown and maybe help them win that fight. Dryads here probably going to win against the Nekar Warriors, although it's pretty damn close. Yeah, the Warriors actually have a big HP advantage, so maybe not. We'll have to keep tabs on that one. Back in the epicenter of combat here, we do see a Earthblood going down. Very, very nice. Definitely blunderous for the Wood Elf player to be using the Wild Riders in the front against the Tomb Guard Halberds here. He's really trying to brute force this one, but the idea would be to at least pull them back and cycle charge a little bit, because the Halberds, when they're in combat with Dryads, are not going to be braced. So you can cycle charge and get some decent value there. And it does look like Kotep's going to be dropping it like it's hot, so there's going to be a Druid Sandstorm coming down here. Does manage to tickle those Wild Riders and get a ton of value. And Orion is going to be going over with another Rage Boner and trying to get Kotep once again. Kotep actually gets caught by the Wild Hunters of Karnas. Orion is not empty on ammunition, so he does have more of his throwing javelins, and he is going to be pursuing on the Wild Hunt here against Kotep. Kotep's going to be sitting at 3,800 HP. He is quicker, 70 movement speed. Orion is going to be sitting at 47 in his current state of fatigue, which is exhausted. So a little bit slower, and it's honestly getting to the danger zone for the Wood Elves. I think Wood Elves are, you know, probably winning on value overall, considering the healing. We're a little bit sloppy here with the cab in the front, but aside from that, Beaver has been playing very well. He's been doing a good job of, you know, target priority on the Lords and Heroes and catching them when they slip up and really punishing them. But he's going to need to get those objectives soon. Tomb Kings on the outside do get some Ushapti in here. Ushapti, even though they do get wrecked by the Wardens of Sithril type units, they still are anti-infantry and will be good against the Dryads and the Wardens. They'll give it back just as well. So yeah, Wood Elves do get some Wild Riders on that point. So maybe going to be able to, you know, threaten the cap on that. I would imagine Tomb Kings will just turn around. Orion is also carrying the late game, and a lot of the value that we have seen from the Tomb Kings army is caught up on Orion, who's still very combat effective, and I don't think at this point in the game anything's going to be able to kill him unless he gets really, really just like left in combat to the dogs, right? Couple carrying, going to be swarming over, going to be diving on top of the Glade Guard with the giant shafts here, eating some shots on the way in, and Eternal Guard are conveniently nearby, so they will be able to turn onto the carrion there, maybe able to take them out, we'll have to see, and Orion is just perpetually hunting. Now, Orion can shoot while moving, so he summons his spear and throws it, and obviously, was that a hit there, or did that straight up miss? Yeah, not the most accurate throws, I suppose, but he does catch Kotep here. Kotep does get blundered for a hot moment. Orion is going to be hot on the chase. And on the backside, War Dancers with Azrai Spears and the Wardens of Sithril moving up there, while on the backside, the Glade Guard with the Starfire Shafts are going to continue poking away. So there they go. Archer shots from downtown. Tomb Kings are still stuffing very effectively, though. This is going to be something where the Wood Elves are going to need to get a triple cap here, basically, very, very soon. Yeah, it's basically a triple cap situation here. However, on the backside, War Dancers are battling Tomb Guard Halberds, and with their Shadows Coil, they're going to be very grindy in that fight, and we'll buy some time for some reinforcements to come over. Definitely need to send some of these Eternal Guard to Objective 3, knowing that you're going to need that triple cap. But Orion does get fully surrounded, but the thing about Orion is he does have the Cloak of Bishop. So when he gets surrounded, he starts healing himself. Not surrounded, but when he gets low, he starts healing himself, and he also gets ward save. So he's incredibly difficult to finish. But this is actually not a bad play. A very common tactic against Orion is to trap him with low-quality cavalry units, because then he has a hard time escaping, and you just waste like half the battle killing that unit. Here we do see War Dancers with Azrai Spears able to chew through the Tomb Guard here, going to be moving up. So objective number 2 is going to be going to the Wood Elves. And here on the backside, Eternal Guard going to be heading towards objective 3 while we do see Skeleton Warriors being called in. I think we're starting to see the writing on the wall that the Wood Elves are taking over this game. Tomb Kings are in mass retreat. These archers have been shooting for most of the game. And the Hardwood is most likely going to be advancing up and getting all 3 objectives. I mean, he has a lot of time. And if he gets a double cap right here, gets objective number 2, I don't see that there's going to be a path to victory for the Tomb Kings. I mean, I don't know. Hard to say. They do have the Necrotect back. They did summon him back in here. The Eternal Guard have arrived at the objective. Another Eternal Guard's going to be over there as well, which will counter the Ushapti and should be able to grind there eventually. Ooh, nice play by our Tomb Kings player, though. I really like that. And this is one of the best things about Tomb Kings is how damn obnoxious their light cavalry are. So good at getting up onto points and so damn cost-effective. Orion going to be getting a heal, I believe? No, that was actually the Cursed Blades, but he didn't overcast it, so that's a mistake by Exul. If he had overcasted it, it would have given him bonus versus large, and they would actually do a ton of damage against Orion. So small blunder, not the end of the world. Back objective here is being heavily threatened. We do see some Skeleton Warriors on their way in, and Nehakara Horsemen as well, going to be trying to provide capture weight, but that's a lot of anti-large poke that's going to be able to mitigate those units. And here, ooh man, this is really nice by the Tomb Kings player here, using the Necrotect to heavily debuff the War Dancers, which normally would just karate chop these units. And a Dweller's Blow is also activated. It looks like maybe that did a little bit of friendly fire. That was from the Wood Elf caster, but it will be clearing out the Horseman unit. But yeah, he had a lot of resources in the bank. And this is what happens when you get far ahead. You can afford to just kind of splurge units all over the field. That's literally 3 War Dancers. Homie was banking like 2,000. He's got 1,400 anyways. Man, he's got a lot of resources. He must be running out of units to summon or something. If that's going to be the case. But here, Objective 3 has gone to the Wood Elves. Eternal Guard going to have a very good time against these units. Ushapti are crumbling, and Nehakar Horsemen going to be losing out on that fight as well. Granted, the capture weight does start to flip back here a little bit. Wood Elves going to be rushing up towards Objective number 2. Definitely need to pull the Wild Riders all the way over to Objective 3 and trying to hold that for as long as possible. You just need to hold it long enough that you can win on 2 objectives, which is not going to be easy, but certainly possible. Wood Elves do have, light cavalry that can move in. I would assume they brought some Glade Riders. Glade Riders are an excellent unit, very, very good light cavalry. And it'd be interesting to do a bit of a rating of like all the light cav units and which ones are the best. But I think Illyrian Reavers and Nehakar Horsemen and Skeleton Horsemen in general might be some of the best. Illyrian Reavers have an insane stat line for what they are. Orion nibbling these guys down, absolutely skewering 3 units of Horsemen. And he's been a Giga Chad this game. He's got 4,000 value. I mean, Orion really put the hurting on those chariots early on and forced them into a bad situation overall, right? So we are going to be getting to 1,000 points here. The objective still being held. Orion's going to be hustling over. Wood Elves making a big blunder here by not sending their War Dancers over to Objective 3. That could honestly lose them the game. Okay, right as I say that. He heard me from the past, but he needs to get those guys over to that objective right away and threaten it. Because if the Tomb Kings get it back, could be a little bit scary. Granted, I still think he would have enough time with the triple War Dancer to get that. So you'd want to move all these 3 units over towards Objective 3 and then send a spear or something to buffer that to make sure Tomb Kings can't ninja it. Because Tomb Kings are one of the best factions in the game at ninjaing objectives. They basically just can backstab points with like 3 or 4 Skeleton Horsemen really quick and just grab it with 12 capture weight. It's very brutal. All right. Orion's going to be dabbling in here. The Eternal Guard are fighting the good fight. Horn of the Wild Hunt active. Not super relevant here, but the War Dancers appreciate the charge bonus and will be on their way in. And that is 15 capture weight right here. If they all manage to get on the point, it should start going back to the Wood Elves right now. Kotep is very, very close to death here. He's sitting at 28 leadership. If Orion can break free from that fight and go after him, that'd be pretty brutal. Oh, that's such a good play by the Tomb Kings, man. Really, really good Druid Sandstorm right there. Capture weight does belong to the Tomb Kings, but they haven't been able to get on the point. These spears are wearing down the Tomb Scorpion. More spears and more horsemen coming in. Definitely want to get those horsemen up and around the back and rear charge and just break the position. But yeah, I just think the Tomb Kings are too flimsy here. Good instincts by Beaver, sending in the spears to back up that point there, because that would be the next logical play from your opponent, right? Is the desperation play for your side objective. Could have done it a little bit earlier, but at least they are on the way, so you will have something to deal with that. But this is going to be getting captured here. Orion is a good counter against Tomb Scorpions. Tomb Scorpions, by the way, in tabletop are like one of the best units that Tomb Kings have. They're so freaking good. But advancing up are the guards of the Eternal Woods. And there they are. All 3 objectives belong to the Wood Elves. Spears are going to be coming in. I don't see too many avenues. I just think Wood Elves are going to outgrind them here. You can see the War Dancers just giving them the dirty. And at this point, it's an easy win for the Wood Elves, even on 2 objectives. GG well played. A really fun game. Mistakes were made by both players. The Tomb Kings player had a huge blunder in the beginning, throwing away basically his entire heroic core. But he played well aside from that. Played the objective game and really held his opponent back for a long time. But, losing that much early of the epicenter of your build is going to be very tough. Orion was a Chad, 4,500 on him. You got to love it. Archers did good. War Dancers, when they found their home, did fine. Wardens of Sith rolled at about 900 as well. But yeah, little mistakes. Losing the hero core. The Wood Elf player left his cavalry to grind with halberds for a long time. But aside from that, they both played well. Like the Orion play was great. The resilience of Exul was very fun. I had a good time with it. All right, folks, take care of yourselves. We'll see you around. And that is it for today.